In the videos released on the Dinosaur Age channel, we've repeatedly touched upon the topic of unique animals. Their evolution took, at first glance, a very bizarre path. Such creatures began to appear almost from the moment of the origin of life. Probably with the appearance of the very first single-celled organisms, some of them developed according to their own standards. And, of course, all these oddities have always served one purpose: an attempt to better adapt to changes in the surrounding world. We'll tell you about some of the most famous creatures with unique abilities in a new series of our videos. And today, we'll talk about those animals that lived before dinosaurs began to rule the world. By subscribing to the channel, you'll be the first to know about the release of new episodes, and that means you'll have the chance to comment first on their content. Once again, we also encourage everyone to more actively mark the videos they like with likes. This helps our channel get noticed in the platform's algorithms and allows other science lovers to get to know the Dinosaur Age channel. Tiktalic, a fish on 4 legs. This creature was no longer a fish, but it was still a long way from being a true amphibian. It lived in the distant Devonian period off the coast of modern Canada and Greenland. At that time, these places were home to shallow and fairly warm seas. Perhaps due to the abundance of vegetation, they were more like swamps. Tiktalic's ancestors had to acquire powerful and long fins to make their way through these thickets. Tiktalic itself, according to some scientists, were able to move on their flippers along coastal areas. In addition, they had both gills and lungs. This allowed them to spend quite a long time on land. At the same time, on the top of their large triangular head, there was an opening through which the Tiktalics could breathe atmospheric air without rising from the water. Despite the fact that the Tiktalic is classified as a lobe-finned fish, it had a rather unique appearance. It was over 2 to 2.5 meters long. It didn't have a front dorsal fin, but its body was covered with scales. Its large mouth had 2 rows of teeth. There were no connecting plates between the skull and the shoulder girdle. Therefore, Tiktalic could move its head left and right regardless of the position of its body. Arthr, a butterfly of the Carboniferous period. Of course, in reality, Arthr was a giant centipede, and butterflies didn't exist at that time. The remains of Arthr were found in North America and Scotland. According to scientists, their length could be up to 2.5 meters, due to the fact that the mouth apparatus of these arthropods was never found. For a long time, it was believed that they were active predators. With such dimensions, this isn't surprising. But when analyzing one of the finds, traces of plant food were found in the stomach. This made it possible to assume that the Arthropluras were inclined to a vegetarian menu. Also, some researchers suggested that these centipedes performed the functions of modern butterflies and participated in the process of plant reproduction. When moving through the thickets, Arthroplura shook off pollen, which was retained in the joints of the scales of their jointed armor. Helicoprion, a fish with a rotating jaw. In 1897, a strange spiral structure was discovered in the late Permian deposits near the city of Krasnofimsk. The geologist and paleontologist Karpinski, who studied it, found out that the strange pointed outgrowths on the spiral were teeth and belonged to a species of cartilaginous fish unknown at that time. He suggested that this strange structure was the upper jaw. The fish itself was named Helicoprion. This name comes from a combination of Greek words that could be translated as twisted saw. Subsequently, other remains of Helicoprions and related fish were found all over the world. After their study, the dental spiral was moved to the lower jaw. Although there's an opinion that it could have been located inside the fish's throat, it's believed that the teeth began to grow from the base of the spiral. As new ones appeared, the old ones were displaced and gradually shed. How this circular saw was actually used is not entirely clear. Some scientists even suggest that it could actually rotate to a certain extent, sawing through tentacles or mollusk shells, as well as causing serious wounds to fish and other marine animals. There's also an opinion that Helicoprions used it to sift through bottom silt. Scientists don't have more complete finds that could shed light on this problem. There's also no other living organisms with a similar structure of the oral apparatus. Therefore, this mystery remains unsolved for now. Carnifex, a bipedal crocodile. Although this crocodilomorph inhabited North America already at the end of the Triassic period and was the same age as the first dinosaurs, we can't help but include it in this issue. Several scattered bones of this distant relative of modern crocodiles were found in North Carolina almost 20 years ago. When described, it received a species name meaning Carolina butcher. Its body length is estimated at almost 3 meters, and its height 1.5. At the same time, it's believed that the found skeleton belonged to a not quite adult individual. The uniqueness of this crocodilomorph was that it most likely moved exclusively on its hind legs. Its front legs were much shorter. However, no evidence of the bloodthirstiness of Carnifex has yet been found. Scientists don't have bones with traces of its bites or fossilized remains of the contents of its stomach. But the method of movement it chose at that time was undoubtedly advanced. It's not for nothing that after the extinction of these two-legged crocodiles, the dominant predators became two-legged dinosaurs, Theropods. Dunkleosteus, a monster fish with a toothless mouth. About 360 to 380 million years ago, in the Devonian period, this armored fish was the main predator of the planet. Its length could reach 10 meters, and its weight, 1 ton. The huge head was covered with armor plates and equipped with a terrifying mouth. This mouth also consisted of bone plates and was more like a beak. Instead of teeth, it had the same bone plates. But even with such a primitive mouth apparatus, Dunkleosteus could not worry about the fact that someone in the ocean would be too tough for them. The bite force of their jaws, according to scientists, were simply monstrous. Even modern crocodiles don't have such speed and bite power. And the Devonian seas were mostly inhabited by mollusks and ammonites. Their shells were easily broken by the jaws of Dunkleosteus. Even the sharks that had appeared by that time could not compete with this living torpedo. Dunkleosteus could bite them in half without much effort. The only creature that could harm this fish was another, larger Dunkleosteus. Cynognathus, woolly lizard. The Permian period was the era of theropods. At this time, a large number of creatures appeared that had many features of modern animals, but had not yet lost some features of reptiles. One of these animals was the Cynognathus. It was quite a large animal by the standards of its time. Its body length could exceed 1 meter. At the same time, almost a third of this size fell on the head with a toothy mouth. Their upper jaw was decorated with powerful saber-shaped fangs. Also, in the mouth of these theropods, there were primitive molars. It's due to this structure of the oral apparatus that Cynognathus got their name. Literally, it's translated as dog jaw. The hind legs of the Cynognathus were located under the body, like in mammals, and its forelimbs were still spread apart, like in reptiles. Cynognathus had differentiation of teeth, like in modern mammals. Studies of fossilized skin impressions of Cynognathus show that their entire bodies were covered in hair. They may also have had vibrissae, sensory hairs that act like whiskers, on their faces. Megaa, the poisonous bear of the Permian period. The presence of poisonous glands among modern mammals is a great rarity, and only reptiles were able to create a developed apparatus for injecting toxin into the body of a victim from vertebrates. But since the synapsids of the late Permian period can be fully considered a transitional form, among them were animals that presumably had a poisonous bite. Megaa is known only from one maxillary bone and several other scattered bones found in the Nizhny Novgorod and Vladimir regions of Russia. Initially, the finds were attributed to one of the Gorgonopsid species, but upon closer examination, it became clear that scientists had discovered a new predatory therapsid. In terms of size, Megaa was approximately the same as modern bears, only its head and, accordingly, jaws were larger in relation to the size of the body. But most of all, scientists were attracted by the structure of the fangs of this formidable predator. Firstly, they were triple and grew from a common alveolar sac, and inside the fangs there were separate canals, which presumably led to glands that produced a poisonous toxin. It's impossible to confirm or refute this hypothesis due to insufficient materials, but if it's proven that Megaa killed or immobilized its victim with poison, then it'll become the most ancient poisonous vertebrate in the history of the planet. The diversity of unique animal species that inhabited our planet at different times doesn't allow us to talk about all of them in one video. As the history of evolution shows, not all of these features allowed living organisms to successfully adapt to changes in living conditions. But the presence of precisely such, sometimes unusual, deviations allowed them to survive and develop further. In fact, the entire history of life from the simplest single-celled to highly developed mammals come down to the fact that certain unique features contributed to their further development and prosperity. We're grateful to everyone who watched this video all the way to the end. There's more detailed information about the creatures shown in this video in previous videos. You can also learn about the evolution of various animals and the relationship of modern human society with wildlife.